straight 23-year-old who fell in love with his closeted gay friend. Should I tell him? It's been a strange couple of months for me. I'm a 23-year-old guy, just out of a relationship I thought would last forever. Post-breakup, I decided to explore new horizons, make new friends. That's how I ended up on Tinder, swiping for both guys and girls, but clearly stating I was only looking for friendship. And then he appeared a med student living just 20 minutes away. From the first message, we clicked. It was uncanny how much we had in common. He was easy to talk to, and I felt a connection I hadn't felt in a long time. So much so that I deleted my Tinder account to focus on our budding friendship. We switched to WhatsApp and our conversations deepened. Then he mentioned his ex, a guy. That threw me for a loop. He was closeted, only a few close friends knew. I'm pretty open-minded, I remember telling him. I've thought about being with a guy, though I've never actually done it. We planned to meet to explore what these feelings were, but schedules clashed, and it took a week longer than expected. A week in which my feelings unexpectedly deepened. We shared daily snapshots of our lives, but as my feelings grew, he began to pull away, possibly sensing my shifting emotions. Yesterday, we finally hung out at his flat, watched the GOT finale, smoked some weed, had dinner, played PS4. It was the best day I could remember. Yet through it all, I didn't bring up his or my potential sexuality. It felt like a typical hangout between straight friends, but my heart was racing with more than platonic affection. I wanted to tell him, to break away from this facade of casual friendship and confess my feelings. But fear gripped me. What if this revelation ruined everything? What if he didn't feel the same way? Now, I'm sitting here, reeling from our time together, unsure of my next move. He's grown distant, making excuses not to meet up again, talking to other guys on Tinder and asking for my opinion. I find myself at a crossroads. Do I confess my feelings, potentially altering everything between us? Or do I maintain this facade, pretending these feelings don't exist? How do you even begin to navigate such a conversation without sounding absurd? As I type this, my phone buzzes. It's him. A simple hey pops up on the screen. My heart skips a beat. I stare at the message, unsure of how to reply. Do I play it cool, or do I dive into the deep end? Hey, how was your day? I type back, hoping to gauge his mood. His response comes quicker than expected. It's been okay. Just a lazy day at home, making soup and chilling. You. I hesitate, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. This is my chance to steer the conversation towards something more personal, but the fear of his reaction holds me back. Pretty much the same. Needed a day to unwind. Yesterday was fun, wasn't it? Yeah, definitely, he replies after a pause that feels a bit too long. We should do it again sometime. The nonchalant agreement stings a little. I want to scream into the phone to tell him that sometime isn't soon enough, that I need to see him now. But I restrain myself, choosing my words carefully. Sure, when are you free next? Another pause. Not sure, my schedule is kind of full this week. The dismissiveness in his message is palpable. I feel a surge of frustration, mixed with a growing sense of desperation. Listen, can we talk? I feel like there's something we need to address. He doesn't reply immediately, and every second of silence is agonizing. When he finally does, his message is cautious. About yesterday. Not exactly, I reply, my heart pounding. About us. What about us? His response is quick now. Tinged with confusion, or is it curiosity? I take a deep breath, my fingers trembling as I type. I think we've been dancing around something important. I've been feeling things I didn't expect to feel, and I'm not sure what to do with them. There's a long pause, the longest yet. I wait, my anxiety mounting, wondering if I've crossed a line. Finally, his reply comes through. I think I might be feeling the same way, but I'm not sure it's a good idea to go there. Why not, I ask. A mix of relief and fear swirling within me, because I don't want to ruin what we have. Plus, you're straight, right? This could just complicate things. I pause, considering my next words carefully. Maybe I'm not as straight as I thought. Or maybe labels aren't that important. What if we're missing out on something great because we're too scared to take a chance? He doesn't respond immediately, leaving me in suspense. I stare at the screen, my mind racing with possibilities. The silence stretches on, a testament to the gravity of our conversation. Finally, he types, can we meet to talk about this? Face to face. My heart leaps. Yes, absolutely. When and where? I need some time to think about it, he replies, his words sending a chill down my spine. I'll let you know. On the 5th day, a storm rolls in. The evening air crackles with tension, mirroring the turmoil inside me. As the first drops of rain begin to fall, my phone finally buzzes. It's him. I've thought about it. Can we meet tonight? The little cafe by the river. Without hesitation, I type back, yes, I'll be there. The rain intensifies as I drive to the cafe, the streets slick and shining under the streetlights. When I arrive, he's already there, sitting at a table in the back, his face partly obscured by the dim lighting. He looks up as I approach, his expression unreadable. We greet each other awkwardly, the air between us thick with unsaid words. I sit down opposite him, the small table feeling like a vast ocean separating us. So I start, unsure of how to begin. You wanted to talk. He nods, taking a deep breath. Yes, about what you said the other day. About us possibly being more than friends. The way he says more than friends sends a jolt through me. But I nod, urging him to continue. I've been doing a lot of thinking, he says slowly, his eyes not quite meeting mine. And I'm scared. Scared of what this could mean for us, for our friendship. Scared of how things might change. I'm scared too, I admit, feeling a weight lift as I acknowledge the truth. But isn't it worth the risk if there's a chance it could be something incredible? He pauses, considering my words. Then he shakes his head slightly. What if it's not? What if we try and it doesn't work out? I don't want to lose you as a friend. That's my biggest fear. The vulnerability in his voice strikes a chord in me. I understand that I say softly, I don't want to lose you either, but I can't stop how I feel. I've tried, but it's just not possible. He looks up, his gaze finally meeting mine. There's a sadness there that makes my heart ache. I feel the same way he confesses. I can't stop thinking about you, about us. But I need to know. Are you sure about this? About your feelings? His question hangs in the air, and I realize this is the moment of truth. I lean forward, my hands clasped tightly in front of me. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, I say earnestly. I don't know what this means for my identity, for my future. But I know I want to explore this with you, whatever it means. He watches me for a long moment, then nods slowly. Okay, he whispers almost to himself. Okay. We sit in silence, the sound of rain tapping against the windows filling the space between us. The conversation that follows is long and fraught with uncertainty, but beneath it all runs a current of excitement, of possibility. As the cafe begins to close, we stand to leave, the rain still falling outside. We step into the cool night air, neither of us quite ready to end the night. As we walk together under the shared shelter of an umbrella, I feel a spark of hope flicker to life within me. Let's take it slow, he says as we reach the bridge, the river below us swollen with rain. I nod, agreeing. As slow as we need. He smiles then. A genuine smile that reaches his eyes, and in that moment I feel a surge of something powerful and undeniable. But just as quickly, his smile fades, replaced by a look of concern. I just hope we're not making a mistake, he murmurs, more to himself than to me. I reach out, taking his hand in mine, feeling its warmth despite the chill in the air. So do I say, squeezing his hand gently. So do I. One evening, we choose a quiet park bench under the glow of a street lamp as autumn leaves drift around us. The park is nearly empty, the air crisp and carrying the scent of coming rain. You know, he starts, breaking a long silence. Every time we meet, I feel like I'm walking a tightrope. I'm thrilled to see you, but there's always this fear lurking in the back of my mind. I nod, feeling the same conflicting emotions. It's like we're both holding on to something fragile, something precious, afraid to grip too tightly. He sighs, looking away toward the dark outline of trees. Exactly. And I keep wondering if we can actually work. You and I, are we just caught up in the moment, or is there something deeper here? I feel a pang of anxiety, the uncertainty eating at me. I've been asking myself the same questions, but then I see you and it all feels right, despite the doubts. He turns to face me, his eyes searching mine. And what if we discover it's not right? What if we're not meant to be what we hope for each other? The question hangs heavy between us. Then we'll know I reply softly. We'll know we tried, instead of just wondering what if, but I believe in this in us. I think we owe it to ourselves to find out, no matter the outcome. He nods, taking a deep breath. I want to believe too. It's just hard to shake the fear of losing you. We sit in silence for a moment, each lost in thought. The night grows colder, and I shiver slightly. He notices and moves closer, his shoulder brushing against mine. The simple contact sends a warmth through me that belies the chill of the night. Maybe we're overthinking this, he murmurs, his voice barely above a whisper. Maybe we should just let things happen, see where they lead without trying to control every outcome. I consider his words, the idea of surrendering to the unknown, both terrifying and exhilarating. Could we really do that? Just let go. He squeezes my hand, his grip firm and reassuring. I think we can. If we trust each other, trust what we feel. The park is quiet, the occasional rustle of leaves sounding like whispered secrets. I trust you, I say, feeling a resolve building within me. I trust you more than I've ever trusted anyone. His smile in the dim light is gentle, hopeful. And I trust you. As we stand to leave, the first drops of rain begin to fall, light at first, then growing steadier. We walk together, sharing an umbrella, the rhythmic sound of raindrops accompanying our steps. But as we approach his car, his phone rings, shattering the calm. He looks at the screen, his face falling. It's my brother, he says, his voice tense. I need to take this. I nod, stepping back as he answers the call. His conversation is brief, but his body language shifts, his shoulders tensing, his brow furrowing. When he hangs up, he looks at me, worry etching his features. It's my family, he explains, his voice strained. They're starting to ask questions about us, about why I spend so much time with you. The revelation hits me like a cold wave. What are you going to tell them? He shakes his head, a mix of frustration and uncertainty clouding his eyes. I don't know. This is what I feared. The drive back to my place is tense, the rain drumming relentlessly on the car roof, mimicking the pounding of our thoughts. Neither of us speaks for a while, each lost in our own worries about what his family's curiosity might mean for us. Finally, he breaks the silence. I'm sorry I brought this into our lives, he says, his voice filled with remorse. I didn't think it would come to this so soon. I glance over, seeing the strain in his expression. You don't have to apologize. It's not like you can control what your family thinks or does. We knew this wouldn't be easy. He nods, but the tension doesn't leave his shoulders. I know, but it feels like I'm dragging you into my mess. My family, they can be pretty intense. I haven't even figured out how to deal with this myself, let alone explain it to them. As we pull up to my apartment building, the rain eases, the storm seemingly passing as quickly as it arrived. We sit in the car, neither making a move to get out, the quiet of the post-storm evening enveloping us. I could just not tell them, he suggests tentatively, looking over at me with a mix of hope and desperation. We could keep this between us for a little longer, at least until we're more sure of, whatever this is. I consider his words, the idea of hiding our relationship from the world, making me feel uneasy. But for how long? At some point we'll have to face this, won't we? I don't like hiding, especially not about something that feels as important as this. He sighs, running a hand through his wet hair. I know, you're right. It's just, every time I think about coming out to them, I freeze up. They have expectations, you know, and I've always been the one who followed the rules. Maybe it's time to make your own rules, I say softly, reaching out to take his hand. I'll be here with you every step of the way, but only if you're ready. He squeezes my hand, a grateful smile flickering on his lips. Thank you. I need to think about how to handle this, but knowing you're here helps, a lot. We finally get out of the car and head up to my apartment. As we dry off and settle in, the mood lightens slightly, but the conversation about his family looms over us like a shadow. Later, as we sit on the couch with cups of tea, his phone buzzes again. He checks it, frowning. It's my brother again. He's asking if I can meet him tomorrow. Sounds serious, I comment, trying to keep my voice neutral. Yeah, he's probably the only one in the family who might understand a bit. He's always been more open-minded than the rest. Maybe talking to him could help, I suggest. It might be good to have someone in your corner if things get complicated. He nods slowly. Maybe. I just hope I can explain it in a way that doesn't end up making everything worse. We sit in silence for a moment, the weight of the situation settling around us. Finally, he looks up at me, his eyes determined. Whatever happens, I want you to know that I don't regret any of this, no matter how hard things might get. I don't regret it either, I affirm, reaching for his hand again. We'll figure this out together. The morning light seeps through the curtains, casting a warm glow over the room. I watch him as he dresses, the tension evident in his movements, his usual grace replaced by a stilted anxiety. Today he meets with his brother, and the weight of that impending conversation presses down on us both. He catches me looking and manages a small, strained smile. Hey, it's going to be okay, he says, more to reassure himself than me. I nod, getting up to stand beside him. I know. And whatever his reaction, remember you're not alone in this. I'm right here, okay? He pulls me into a hug, his body tense against mine. Thanks. I don't know what I'd do without you. We skip breakfast, the knots in our stomachs tightening as the clock ticks closer to the time of his meeting. I offer to drive him, and he accepts with a grateful nod. The drive is quiet, both of us lost in our thoughts. Pulling up outside the cafe where they're supposed to meet, I grip the steering wheel, trying to find the right words. You've got this, I finally say. Just be honest. He's your brother, he loves you. He looks at me, his eyes filled with a mix of fear and determination. Here goes nothing, he murmurs before getting out of the car. I watch him enter the cafe, my heart pounding in solidarity. Deciding not to leave, I find a parking spot and wait, the minutes stretching into what feels like hours. After a while, my phone buzzes a message from him. Going okay so far. He's listening, relief floods through me, but it's short-lived. The conversation isn't over yet. Time crawls by until finally he emerges from the cafe. His face is unreadable as he approaches the car. He gets in, and before I can ask anything, he lets out a long breath. He was surprisingly okay with it, he starts, his voice shaky. He had suspicions, I think. He said he just wants me to be happy, but he's worried about the rest of the family finding out. That's understandable, I respond, starting the car. But it's a good first step, right? That he supports you. He nods, staring out the window. Yeah, it is. He wants to help me figure out how to tell our parents. The drive back is filled with tentative plans and what-ifs. When we get back to my apartment, we collapse onto the couch, emotionally drained. So what now, I ask, taking his hand. Now we plan. With my brother's help, maybe. Maybe this can work out, he leans against me, his body slowly relaxing. We spend the day close, talking occasionally, but mostly just being together, finding comfort in each other's presence. As evening falls, we cook dinner together, the normalcy of the act a stark contrast to the day's earlier events. But as we sit down to eat, his phone rings. The caller ID shows it's his mother. His hand freezes halfway to answering it, a look of panic crossing his face. Are you going to take it? I ask gently. He hesitates, then presses the button to answer. Hi, Mom, he says, his voice carefully neutral. I watch him closely, his expressions changing from cautious to confused to slightly alarmed. When he hangs up, he's pale, his hands trembling slightly. She knows he says simply the words heavy between us. Somehow, she knows about us. The impact of his words hits me like a physical blow. Questions race through my mind, but before I can say anything, his phone rings again. This time it's his father. He looks at me, fear etching his features, then back to the phone, indecision written all over him. As the phone continues to ring, the sound seems to fill the room, loud and insistent, demanding an answer. I can't hear what his father is saying on the other end, but I watch as his face goes through a series of emotions: shock, pain, and then a hardened resolve. He listens more than he speaks, nodding occasionally, though it's clear the conversation is mostly one-sided. When he finally hangs up, he looks utterly defeated. He doesn't say anything at first, just sits there, staring blankly ahead. I reach over and gently squeeze his shoulder, urging him to share what happened. They want to meet, he finally murmurs, his voice hollow. Both my mom and dad. They said we need to talk about this situation, they sounded. Not angry exactly, but definitely not happy. The news sinks in, and a chill runs down my spine. What are you going to do? I ask, my voice low. He sighs, rubbing his forehead. I have to meet them. I can't just ignore this. Maybe it's time to face this head on. And I'll be there with you, I offer, but he shakes his head. No, this is something I need to do alone. At least at first, they need to see I'm serious about this, about my life. It's better if I talk to them without making them feel like I'm pushing them too hard. I want to argue, to insist on supporting him, but I see the determination in his eyes and realize this is a battle he needs to fight on his terms. Over the next few days, the tension between us grows. While we try to maintain some sense of normalcy, the impending meeting looms large, casting a shadow over everything. Finally, the day arrives. He dresses carefully, choosing his outfit with a level of consideration I've never seen before. He's trying to strike the right balance, to look respectful but confident. Before he leaves, he stands in front of the mirror, adjusting his collar. Okay, he says, taking a deep breath. I can do this. I walk him to the door, feeling helpless. You've got this, I say, trying to infuse my voice with more confidence than I feel. Just be honest. They love you, they'll understand. He nods, though I can see the doubt flickering in his eyes. I hope so. I'll call you as soon as it's over. With a final tight hug, he leaves. The apartment feels empty the moment the door clicks shut, and I'm left with my own swirling thoughts and fears. Hours pass, each minute stretching into what feels like an eternity. I try to distract myself with a book, then a movie, but nothing can pull my mind away from him and the conversation that must be happening right now. Finally, late in the evening, my phone rings. It's him. I answer immediately, my heart racing. How did it go? His voice comes through, tired and emotional. It was intense. We talked for hours. They had a hard time at first, a lot of questions, some disappointments. But I think they might be coming around. They need time, but they didn't shut me out. Relief washes over me, mixed with lingering worry. I'm so proud of you, I tell him. That took a lot of courage. He's quiet for a moment. Thanks, I'm just glad it's over. I'm on my way back now. We need to talk when I get there. His tone is serious, and a new anxiety starts to build in me. Of course, I say, my mind racing with possibilities. Drive safe. I'll see you soon. As I hang up, I pace the apartment, waiting for him to return. What did he mean by we need to talk? The uncertainty is maddening. When he finally walks through the door, his expression is unreadable. He takes off his coat and shoes, then looks up at me. There's something we need to discuss. About us, about the future. His words hang in the air, fraught with unspoken implications, and as we sit down to talk, I brace myself for what's to come. We sit across from each other on the couch, the tension palpable in the air. He takes a deep breath, his eyes locking onto mine with a seriousness that sends a shiver down my spine. I need to be honest with you about something important, he starts, his voice steady but filled with emotion. My parents. They're trying to understand, but they've asked me to consider some things about my future, my career, how we might affect it all. I swallow hard, the reality of our situation settling heavily on my chest. What are you saying, I ask, though a part of me already guesses the painful direction this conversation is taking. He shifts uncomfortably, his gaze briefly flickering away before meeting mine again. They want me to move back home for a while, to give us all some space to think about everything. They're worried, and they think this distance might help us see things more clearly. The idea of him leaving, of distance entering the very heart of our relationship, fills me with a cold dread. And what do you think? Do you believe that distance is what we need right now? I manage to say, my voice tight with worry. He sighs, a long and weary sound. I don't know. Part of me thinks they might be right, that maybe we rushed into this too fast. I love what we have, I do, but I'm so torn. I don't want to lose them, but I also can't stand the thought of losing you. The raw honesty in his words stings, the reality of his struggle clear in his conflicted expression. So, you're considering it? Moving back home, I ask, my heart sinking. Yes, I am, he admits, and it feels as though the room spins for a moment. But it's not just for them, it's for me too, to figure out who I am in all of this, without any pressures from either side. I nod slowly, the pain of understanding etching deep within me. I get it, I say, my voice barely a whisper. You need space to sort through your feelings, your life. I can't say it doesn't hurt, but I love you enough to want what's best for you, even if that means stepping back. He reaches out, his hand covering mine, squeezing gently. I hate that it's come to this. You've been nothing but incredible through everything. This isn't about us not working, it's about me needing to be sure about how I handle my family and my future. The sincerity in his touch, in his words, makes it all the harder to process. How long will you go for, I ask, dreading the answer. A few months, he replies. I think that should be enough time to figure things out, to make them understand who I am and what you mean to me. And after those few months, the question hangs between us, fraught with all the possibilities that time and distance might bring. He looks at me, his eyes filled with a mixture of hope and sadness. After that, I hope to come back to you, to us, stronger and more certain than ever, if you're willing to wait, to give me that chance. The promise in his eyes does little to ease the ache in my heart, but I manage a small smile. I'll wait, I say, because what we have is worth fighting for. But please don't feel bound by any promises if things change for you. Be honest with me always. He nods, his expression grateful. I will. And thank you for understanding, for being here. I'll be back, I promise.